welcome Lori Snyder for the walk
Beautiful.
today. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Like really, I just feel so honored and humbled that you take the time to come out and really start to remember our older brothers and sisters, right? This is what has sustained us as the human family for a long, long time. And I feel really just slightly emotional in this moment when I'm just kind of reflecting on that, in that, you know, we're in a really tenuous place in this history of humanity, and it has a lot to do with our disconnection, in my view, of what I see happening as we've institutionalized our minds and our bodies away from our true nature, which is a collaboration and a practices of reciprocity and remembering that we are in relationship and that we have we have some responsibility here, and these reminders that, you know, who should we be putting our energy and our respect into is to the earth, not a corporation, not an institution, not even a government. Really recognizing that. And again, these are my points of view, and this is because of the way that I've been walking and learning and sharing, that I'm like, oh my goodness, we've got to get back in this true relationship, so we can, you know, bring that for our future generations. Here, this is what's called false dandelion. This is not a dandelion. I am so grateful for this plant. See how green it is? And the grass is not. So this is, it turns out we can actually eat these leaves. They're a bit on the fuzzy side. Lots of people think it's a dandelion, but it's not. It's green tasting, has less bitter than dandelion does. And you can see it when the flower comes up off the stem, there's more than one flower that will come up off the stem. This plant likes to actually grow with its leaves like this, and like so many other things, it adapts to its environment, so it lays flat so it won't get chopped by the lawnmower. But it's such a gift because, one, it's got this beautiful yellow flower. It's feeding the bees. So I'm so grateful she's here. So I can eat her, but I can also know that she is giving life and food to others, right? So, and a lot of times this is all completely misunderstood. Our wild weeds is misunderstood. So here's that, that program. After the Second World War, they created a lot of poisons to use for warfare. They didn't know what to do with them. So they experimented and they started pouring it on these plants, saying, oh, look at this, it kills them. We'll tell everyone this is a weed and we'll sell this poison. So we bought billions of dollars worth of poison trying to get rid of this food. This is our ancestral foods. This is what our ancestors brought over. Because when you're going to another land, you put your seeds in your pocket because you don't know what kind of food is going to be there. You don't know what kind of medicine is going to be there. So you bring your foods and your medicines with us. So the dandelion, the plantain, the chickweed, this beautiful false dandelion, these were all foods our ancestors ate. Now, what's interesting about wild foods is they have more vitamins and minerals than any of the foods we're buying, unless you're buying biodynamic, which is the best food that you can actually eat, based on how they take care of the soil, because the soil has all, you know, what it gets from us in this recycling or recomposting or in this system, right? Everything that comes from the earth feeds me, and everything that I have goes back to the earth. Lines on the back, you can see that. Here's her flowers. These tiny little flowers are important. They're just like little white dots there. They're really important for our native bees. So some of our native bees are 1 to 2 millimeters. No, 2 to 3 millimeters. Like, they're so tiny, which means they have tiny tongues or proboscis, and they need small flowers. So when we take away these small flowers, we actually take away their food source. The other thing is, bees aren't like us in our car. They can go long distances. They don't go long distances. They go very short distances, right? So the more we understand witnessing them, then it's like, oh, okay, let's make sure that we're creating these swaths of wild plants or flowers and such so that they have their food source, right? And we know how important bees are for our pollination. This is part of the pine family. So even though it's called the fir, it's not a true fir. It's actually from the pine family. What you might have noticed in the early spring or late spring, it had really bright needles at the very end. That's the new growth. They're high in vitamin C. We can taste them. We'll notice they're sour and tangy. So anytime we're eating sour food, that's an indication of vitamin C, which is really important for our muscles, for our heart, right? Gives us energy. I don't know, will we have coffee next year? Who knows, right? Like, who knows where we're going, right? Or to the highest bidder, right? So we may still have it, but it may cost a lot more money. Vitamin C, yes, is a stimulus. It also helps to repair the skin as it's helping build the connective tissue, so your collagen. So it's interesting, we're told, buy this animal collagen and put it on your skin, and that's what's going to make you look good. It's taking it inside our body, the vitamin C, and our body produces that, builds it, right? So, and when the first colonists were coming over, they didn't have any teeth. This is what my ancestors, the Pothon Nation in what we call West Virginia, we were making tea for them because of the vitamin C, so that the teeth would stop falling out, right? On the bark, sometimes it's got that sticky substance. People call it sap. Sap runs on the inside of the tree. The outside is pitch. The tree produces, hummingbird, the tree produces that to keep insects from boring in and eating the inner bark. So inner barks of trees are like a survival food or a starvation food. So, when we were traveling long distances and we ran out of food and we couldn't find anything hunting or anything to eat, we could actually take the inner bark of trees and use that as a food source. So the insects love it, but the tree needs a protectant. And these feel really soft, so it makes me almost wonder if this could possibly be so you have the Thuja placata, which is western red cedar, which grows here on this side of the world. Then you have Thuja occidentalis, which grows on the east side of Canada, or Turtle Island. They both are considered the tree of life. It's usually, the only way I can usually tell is by these little cones, and I'm kind of pressing down on them and they don't feel super prickly to me. So looking at the needles, I can't really tell. Sometimes I will tell when the tree is much older, and then I can look at the base, and then I can see, how on the west coast here that the bark really sort of has this straight curve, straight lines on it, right? And the other a chemical component called fujone, which is known as a neurotoxin. So I used to say to people, if you were making teas with it, don't drink it for too long. But I just found out that it's not water soluble, so you can drink. This is a beautiful antifungal, right? When we have a windstorm and branches get broken, maybe we find that's being gifted to us. Then I'll pick up the, old branches, and then I might put them on my stove and steam them. So I'm getting those aerosols from my lungs, right? So when we walk through the forest, this is, Shinra Yoku, which is a Japanese word to talk about forest bathing. So we know how important that is for us to walk through the forest. And if you're living out in this part of the city, you are so blessed to have all these beautiful trees around you. Some salao here, and because they're not getting a lot of sun, they probably are not producing much berries. Like, I'm not really seeing any berries at all. Huckleberry is really difficult to grow in a garden because it loves the decaying wood, right? So not one I would be recommending. Salao, this, here's some dried berries right here. It's called boxwood. You see it in formal English gardens and such, and it gets all trimmed into shapes and all. Well, you can do that pretty well with this one. And then you've got your food source. This is an evergreen, so it's going to be there year round. This is like a Canada leaf, a maple leaf. It almost looks like a maple leaf. It has the tiniest red berries, super soft. Somebody always says, "Oh, Lori, that's really good for toilet paper when you're out in the woods or whatever." Yeah, make sure you do things in a good way. And I love this berry. It's probably my favorite berry in the whole wide world is the thimbleberry. And one of the things that I noticed, like for instance, when I'm harvesting, say, salmonberry, the salmonberry pokes me. Salmonberry's related to raspberry. And it pokes me because it's telling me I need to trim it. So when we pull off the old dead wood and that, we stimulate the plant to produce more roots that brings more leaf, that takes more carbon. And what's her name? Diana Beresford Kruger. She's a biochemist. She's written many books. Call of the Forest was her documentary, and this was 4 years ago. She was saying every person on the planet plants one tree for the next 6 years, we will start to reverse climate change. And she was saying this 4 years ago, so we would already be in that. So berries, they're really tiny because it didn't get a lot of rain this year. And these are super sour, unbelievable how sour they are. So I like cooking them for sure with another berry or adding some maple syrup. We can get a beautiful medicine and a dye from, it has a chemical component called berberine, and it's yellow, so I can find it in the stem, and I can find it in the root. And what's interesting, I remember my teacher saying, "Oh, this is an antibiotic," but it's actually works in tandem with antibiotics for those diseases that are antibiotic resistant. So it helps to, because pathogens are really intelligent, and what they do, as we're now seeing with our little COVID, right, the variants, it passes on information. And it becomes stronger and healthier and resilient, right? So like us, we'll get stronger and healthier and resilient, right? As we remember what supports us, right? Life supports us. I'm living, it's living, and we're in the same relationship. So developed by a guy in California called Burbank, and I did a little bit of reading about him. He's a bit amazing what he created there, but he had some wild ideas, and not ones I would be like, yeah, I could follow that. But anyways, so this Himalayan blackberry was co-created to be a strong, healthy, vibrant plant, and we see that all around our city. It has a beautiful berry. Of all the berries, it's the highest in iron. There are many women who are anemic, so this is a beautiful plant to get that iron and replace our iron. And if we're feeling tired all the time, have your blood checked, because it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, that could happen for you. And it's free. It's all over the city. I don't think anyone would have any problems with you just going and harvesting, and again, wanted to do that in a good way. The beautiful leaf makes a wonderful tea, especially when the leaf is older and it's kind of red and it's got those colors in it. I chop it and bring it to a simmer. It's like drinking roses, so it's got a beautiful flavor to it. I'm working on getting off my box teas now. So growing my teas, growing peppermint. I want to grow Tulsi next year with lavender, because I just found that combination of lavender and Tulsi is just amazing. On the stem, so sometimes it's kind of green or it looks powdery or blue. So you can see it's kind of really green here, and then it's kind of powdery there. And of course the leaf is a little bit different. This is what I love seeing, evidence of insects. So I can see the leaves have been chewed. So this could be the leaf cutter bee that's in here. So really important. This is what we want to see in our gardens. There was a time as a master gardener, I'm not a master gardener, but a master gardener would come out, they would go, oh, let's figure out what insect that is, and then we'd go get the poison. Now we're changing the narrative and we're saying, oh good, this is healthy, this is strong, this is what we want to see. Oh, I'm noticing they're on my tomato. Okay, now I'm going to put some nasturtium so they can go to my nasturtium so I can have my tomato. So all of a sudden we're starting to do like biological control in the garden and not use something, because what we put into the earth comes in here, right? And we've seen that in our studies now, that even babies in utero are being exposed to toxins. So it's not like there's any place on this planet that we're not being exposed to that, right? So this is our native blackberry. The blackberry is very different in its flavor. Someone told me this is a yeast, so a bloom. It helps to protect the plant, and you can actually make like a beer with it, right? Like you could actually take that and put that in, and you would get your yeast to actually start to create your beer.